Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And many of you know that we are running this challenge on Instagram called #YTXIG challenge, in which you can win brush markers from Korean markers. And this tutorial is for the first prompt, land or earth, and we are going to use this reference image to paint this lovely landscape. So before we start, let me quickly show you what art supplies we are going to need today. So first of all, you will need at least 300 GSM, 100% cotton, rough textured or cold press paper, then a wash brush, medium size round brush, smaller size round brush, and a detail brush. I am using these paints from Art Philosophy Classic palette. Also, you will need a pencil and an eraser, some paper towel, and a jar of clean water. So I have already sketched down these basic landscape elements. Now I am applying water with my wash brush only on the sky part. You can use any flat wash brush to apply an even coat of water. Now I am using my medium size round brush and this peach shade for the sky part. I am using wet in wet technique to paint the sky, and please be careful while applying the paint around the edges of the mountain. Use tip of your brush while applying paint around the edges of the mountain. Now we are going to paint this mountain range. I am using a smaller size round brush and grey paint to paint these mountains. Make sure your sky part is completely dry before you start painting this mountain range, otherwise your paint will bleed off in the sky and it will create muddy colors. We are using wet on dry technique and in some part dry brush technique to paint this mountain range. I am leaving some white space in between to create the effect of snow, and also using dry brush technique for that part, so it will create a nice snowy effect. Next we are going to paint this foreground mountain range, and for that I am using a mixture of brown and grey. Also I am using my smaller size round brush and I am using wet on dry technique for the same. Next we are going to paint these tree lines, and for that I am using mixture of black and green to create a darker tone of green, and I am using the tip of my brush to create these tiny tree lines. So I have speed up the process a little bit, but I am using the tip of my brush here, and I am using this wet on dry technique to paint these tree lines. Now same way I am going to add tree lines on this part. So next is to paint this grassland, and for that we are going to use different tones of browns, greens and yellows, and I am using my medium size round brush and starting with this brown paint. I am using wet on dry technique. Uh, Please be careful while applying paint around the edges of this mountain cabins. I haven't used any masking fluid. If you are comfortable using masking fluid, you can apply masking fluid on this mountain cabins and then paint around them. Using different tones of greens, yellows and browns will create beautiful contrasts on this grassland. I have used wet on dry technique for this entire grassland part. So now I am using this detail brush to paint these mountain cabins, and also we will add some grasses on the grassland. To paint these mountain cabins, I am using different tones of brown and some browns mixed with black. So now we are going to paint shadow part. So my light source is from the right side, and the shadow will be on the left side. Make sure you paint shadow only in one direction. I am using darker tone of green to paint this shadow part. So what I did here is I mixed my green with black to get this darker tone of green. Now with my detail brush I am going to add grass here and there. I also want to add some shadow part on the mountain, so I am using black paint and adding some more details in the mountain. Okay, so finally we are done with this landscape. If you have any question, you can always drop it in the comment section or you can always DM me.